Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this video, we're doing a Q&A video. It's been a long time since we've done one of these. It's been many years. Many years. Like, I want to say at least 5. It's been a long time, and I was going to do a live one so that you guys could interact with me a little bit more, but I was busy doing stuff for my birthday, so I decided I didn't want to. So instead, I had you guys post your questions in that post that I made whatever day that was. I think it was the 18th. And now I'm just going to do the answers. I'll read the question and then I'll answer the question. I think this will allow for probably better answers, and I can kind of filter the questions a little bit more also. So should be good. Before we get into that though, we have to do today's sponsor, which is, no surprise, Into the AM. Again, it's the graphic t-shirt people. They do have other clothes, plain t-shirts, other things, but like hoodies and pants and stuff, but I like the graphic tees. I like them a lot. That's why I'm doing the sponsor spot. They don't tell me what to say. They just give me some money and I wear the clothes and I tell you about them. I love them. I wear them all the time. They fit wonderfully. It's a nice cotton. The printing is some of the best printing I've ever seen. Like, I love the designs. I love the quality of the print. They're super colorful. Love the shirts. They have bundle deals. If you get 3 graphic tees or 3 plain tees, you get a discount. If you want to sign up for the t-shirt club, you can get a shirt every month for a less than full price, and then it's a little bit cheaper, but it's a random shirt. So it's a trade-off if you want to save some money. And if you want to save some more money, you can use my discount code, which is just use that link in the description below, and you'll save some money. I definitely 100% recommend these graphic shirts. They're super colorful, they're super fun, and they look great. On me, at least. I don't know, I can't speak for you, but yeah, they look good on me, so that's what I'm gonna say. Alright, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna read the question, and I'm gonna answer the question, and we'll get through as many as we can, and we'll see how that goes. And maybe we'll do a second video if I don't get through enough. Alright, and since you guys posted these publicly, I'm gonna leave your usernames on there. That seems fair enough. You posted them publicly on the channel already. Alright, so John Patrick, he says, what's your top 5 films ever? Ooh, good question. I'm not going to go by quality. I'm going to go by the ones I enjoy watching. I can think of some off the top of my head. Let's see if I can get to 5. In no particular order. The Matrix. Terminator 2. Ready Player One. That's 3. I want to say Kingdom of Heaven is on there. I haven't seen it in a very long time, but I remember really liking that movie. And I'm gonna go with Iron Man 1. Or Avenger. Let's take off Kingdom of Heaven and just do Avengers 1 and Iron Man 1 also. Those are really good movies. Solid films. Okay, those are my top 5 movies. Good question. Next question comes from Champius. If you had to get rid of your entire Marvel Legend collection and you could only keep one, which figure would you keep? By the way, I haven't, I obviously collected the images so I could read them, but I haven't, screened them and planned the answers. So, let me think. If I had to only keep one Marvel Legends figure, I might just go with your standard Jim Lee Wolverine. I would either do that or pick an Iron Man, but even though Iron Man's a better character for me, my favorite character for Marvel, I really like Wolverine. And I think Wolverine's going to be more dynamic, more fun to have. So I might stick with Wolverine. It'd either be Wolverine, Iron Man, McFarlane Spider-Man, or maybe the really nicely shaded Cyclops from the 2-pack with Dark Phoenix. One of the, or I'll pick one of those. I don't know which one for sure, but probably Wolverine if I had to really pick. I'm thinking that's the one right now. Alright, Nick Cage. How do you like your steak cooked? Yeah, so these questions could be anything. I actually encourage it to not be strictly figure related so that we would have a little bit more fun talking about this stuff. Alright, so how do I like my steak cooked? I like a nice medium. Right in the middle. Don't go too much. Don't want it still mooing. So that's pretty good, I think. Plus, not plus, but every time I go to a steak place, which is why I don't go anymore, they never cook it properly. It could be Outback, it could be Texas Roadhouse, it could be, what's that other one? There's another one that I went to recently-ish. Anyway, no matter where I go, they never cook them properly, so I don't go anymore, I just make my own. Austin, will you be continuing your articulation explanation videos? Good question. I actually just rewatched my video the other day. I was showing my wife. Boy, oh boy. I mean, I knew I lost some weight, but holy moly. Don't go back and watch that video. Apparently, I was a big old chungus back then. Yes, I do plan to continue that series. I just haven't decided which articulation to do, and I've been super busy. I've got a whole pile of things I need to review. I've got a ton of work I need to do for like creating my action figure line and working on a commission that I still have going, and I'm doing some more sculpting again. Like, I've got too much going on, so I haven't added those back in like I wanted to, but I do plan to, so stay tuned. They'll be back eventually. That's as best as I can say right now. If you guys have any ideas for which sections of articulation you want me to cover, I will do it. I'm going to do it in chunks. Like that one was just wrists. I could do just necks, ab crunches, whatever. I'm going to break it up into chunks. So if you have any recommendations, let me know. Leave them in the comment section below. Michael Diaz, what do you usually eat for breakfast? Eggs, scrambled. Now here's the thing though. Here's the thing, I always scramble them, but I don't scramble them like in a bowl and then pour it in and then stir it around a lot. Like, that's too much effort. I usually do something else while I'm cooking breakfast, so that's too much. So what I do is I crack my eggs into the pan, I stir them around real good with the spatula and let them sit and pancake up a little bit. Then I flip them once and pancake up a little bit again. And it's like basically an omelet without anything in it, texture-wise, and that's fine, that's easy. Obviously, sometimes I do scramble them so that they actually taste like scrambled eggs, and that's good too. But here's the trick. If you're on a diet, which I have been recently, and you're missing the carbs and you're missing the sweet stuff, if you want something that tastes exactly like French toast, throw some Splenda and cinnamon in your scrambled eggs, scramble it up so that it mixes in nicely, then let it pancake up on both sides. Not like hard, you don't want to like burn it, but you want to get a little bit of color on there, and then you use a little bit of butter. If you're doing no carbs and some fat, which is what I'm doing, a little bit of butter on the top just to like soften it a little bit. It tastes just like French toast, and all it is eggs and Splenda and cinnamon. There's a pro tip for you. Chris Jordan, this is a long one, that's what she said. What's the best steps to take in making your own action figures? I saw the samples of your line, like the Cyber Ninja. Did you have to concept that yourself and then cast it, or do you take the idea to someone? Making an action figure has always been a dream for me, and seeing others just inspires me to follow suit without copying other, of course. That's a lot of stuff in one question, so I'll just answer it this way. If anybody's interested in my line, I explained this, I think, in full detail in the video that's on the front of my channel. So if you just go to my channel page, like the actual landing page, it'll be on there. You can just watch that. But I'll cover it briefly here. Everything in my action figure line is completely concepted up here, other than like things I talked to my friends about. One friend in particular I've bounced ideas with back and forth. He probably won't mind if I say his username. It's Lalam. I don't know if he wants me to say his real name, so I won't. But it's all been up here. I mean, I've done some sketches here and there. He's done a couple things, and we've talked back and forth. But otherwise, it's all up in here. And then I sculpt it digitally, 3D, using. I'm pointing over there at my computer, like you can see it. I sculpt it digitally, and then I 3D print it, and then I do whatever I need to do to it, and then I mold and cast it and make the prototype out of that. And then I'll be sending it off to be done in China to actually be produced like an actual action figure. But there's been no having other people do work for me to produce the line, other than, like I said, bouncing ideas and, you know, letting somebody design something here and there, that kind of thing. So otherwise, it's just been me doing the things. Let me check my audio real quick. Yeah, audio's good. Okay, good question. Next question. Adriano Alves. Have you ever started watching an anime, movie, TV series, or read a comic manga because it had interesting or good action figures? Ooh, so find the figure first, then... Yes, definitely. I was thinking at first, but no, definitely. Everything mecha, basically Gundam, Full Metal Panic, got the figures first, or got into some of the figures first, and then jumped into the source material, so yes. Don't know for sure if there's anything else. I think usually I pick stuff to buy that I actually already have an attachment to. If I just bought cool stuff, I'd have way too much. Like, I already have way too much. Don't need more. But I did do that for the mecha. Never watched a single Gundam or mecha or anything other than like Power Rangers. So yeah, I got the toys first, and then I got into the series, and then I got even more toys. So good question. That's an interesting one. Hadn't really thought about that. A random Mexican. Do you ever plan on making short movie reviews? I heard you liked the new Godzilla vs. Kong movie, but I would like to hear more of what you liked versus what you disliked. Also, is there a reason you never got into the NECA Pacific Rim figures? Having a great... Okay, thank you. You too. I'll answer the NECA thing first. I just never got into them because Pacific Rim was a fun movie, but I just didn't care. Like, the designs didn't really do much for me. Like, also, because they're supposed to be so big, and there's not going to be a wide range of figures for them, it would just be like a small batch of figures that out of scale, and it just seemed weird to me, so I just didn't find any joy in that. As far as the movie reviews, yes. Well, no and yes. I did for a while. It didn't get enough traction. I didn't get enough viewership to make it worth my time. And it's actually bad for the YouTube algorithm if you publish videos that don't get a lot of viewership. You're better off not publishing and then publishing something that gets more. YouTube algorithm told me it was a bad idea to keep doing the movie reviews because not enough of you guys watched them. So I did have that idea and then I stopped doing it. I would love to do it again if I got enough viewership, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. That's just the way it goes. As far as Godzilla vs. Kong, I'll just add in there, I enjoyed the monster fights. I thought it was a terrible movie. Alright, it was fun. Still a terrible movie. Alright, okay, moving on. Good question. Isaac Dunn. Hello, A. I sound like an anime character. What's the status of your line of figures? In progress. I don't want to give anybody dates or anything because there's a lot of work behind the scenes to do. A lot of tinkering, a lot of sculpting, a lot of this, a lot of that, a whole lot of managerial type stuff. Plenty of stuff for me to do before the line is ready. And so I'm trying to get it as full as I can, as fully finished as I can before I bring a Kickstarter to you guys. I don't want to ask for money to develop something. I want to have developed as much as I can and ask for money when I absolutely need to in order to take it to the next step. So in progress, things have been slowed down. This past 7 months has been just a whirlwind of issues for me. I won't get into it too much, but deaths in the family, medical issues, moving back and forth, just one thing after the other, you name it. I've been traveling a lot for not like leisure stuff. It's just been, I got married, like there's just been a million different things going on. So this last 7 months has just been like a big stall on a lot of the work that I've been doing, which is fine. I mean, that's life, but it will resume. It will resume, and you guys will see stuff sooner rather than later, hopefully, but it is still happening, so just bear with me. A lot of work for one guy to do to develop a whole action figure line. Cold Haterade. Street Fighter has over 70 characters. If you had to make 1/12 scale figures for every one of them, including redesigns from later games, that's like a million things. What business model would you use to make sure they all sell, like bath waves, 2-packs, etc.? I don't like the idea of baths. I hate it, in fact, so I wouldn't do that. What I would do is make really good figures, like Soda did. For the time, they were state-of-the-art, the name was accurate. I would just make really, really good figures that people wanted to own because it would complete the roster. Some would sell less, some would sell more, and you account for that in how you do the budgeting and how you do the production runs. And 2-packs is a good idea, I think. I'm not in love with 2-packs, but I think what I would do is maybe, in order to sell something a little bit less popular, maybe you could pair that with like a modified version of an existing figure. So like if you had Ryu and then you wanted to do like Alpha Ryu or SF1 Ryu, maybe you pair that with another figure. So you have the draw of both things being new, but this one being an anchor and this one being just completely new. I think there's ways to do it without doing a Build-A-Figure. I do tend to not like the idea of 2-packs though, because it's hard for people to want to buy something unless they want both figures, and I don't want somebody feeling remorse when they buy something from me, so making them buy 2 things in order to sell one is definitely not. There's ways to do it, but that's still a tricky thing. So I think just making a good product is enough, and then doing the planning behind it would be enough to offset the ones that don't sell as well, because you could just produce less of them and make your money back on the ones you sell more of. Give or take. Obviously, there's a whole business strategy behind that, and this is a 30-second answer, but that's a good question still. David Acosta, hobby or hobbies outside of collecting? Yeah, let me look here. Wow, we're running low on time. This is going slow. Okay, that's okay. Maybe we'll do more than one of these. Hobbies outside of collecting. I'm into cars. I owned a very fun car for a while, but I got rid of it because I don't go anywhere. So I like cars a lot. Now I just have a regular person car, so there's nothing fun to talk about there. I like building tech stuff. Like I built my own computer. It's all fancy, and I use it for my work, so that's a thing. But I mean, it's not collecting, but it's collecting adjacent because it was for work. But yeah, I like tech, video games, movies. I love video games. Like when Halo comes out, I'm gonna be streaming it for sure on the channel, Halo Infinite. So yeah, I love tech, I love movies, love video games, love cars. Sculpting would have been a hobby if I didn't do it for work. Now that it's work, I do it for work, and that's about it. Yeah, those are the big ones. Those are the big ones. As far as actual hobbies go. I would say food also, but since I'm on this diet now, I can't really say that because food's not as much fun anymore. But those are my hobbies, I would say. Good question. They're all good. I'm going to say good question to all the ones I think to say it to, but they're all good questions or I wouldn't have picked them. I mean, I read them briefly when I selected them, so if I miss yours, don't worry. Emir Barajas. I definitely pronounced your name wrong, I'm sorry. What's your top 5 favorite anime of all time? Okay, if we're going full-on series, not just standalone movies. Okay, in no particular order. One Piece, Dragon Ball Z. I'm not going to get into it, but I prefer Z over Super. One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I'm going to go G Gundam. Yes, I don't care if the plot's terrible. And I'm going to go with Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. If I had to pick 5, those are the ones that come to mind off the top of my head. And I like that. If we're going to throw in movies, I'll take a bonus 6, which is the Street Fighter 2 animated movie. That's a fun one. Terrible plot, but good enough for Street Fighter. It's as good as anything I would come up with. So I like that. All right, TBB animations. Would you rather McFarlane made Marvel Legends or Hasbro made DC Multiverse? Hasbro makes DC Multiverse. I don't want McFarlane making collectibles that I want to buy. That sounds harsh, but here's why. They won't decide what they want to do. They can't decide on how much they want to have articulation in their figures. The figures feel confused as the company seems to be about making them. And as much as I have a problem with Hasbro also, they're consistent in some ways. In the main ways at least. You have some not QC really, but some value question with the Hasbro figures. But overall, they're more consistent, more reliable, and I pretty much know what I'm getting with them. Whereas with the McFarlane figures, it looks like you're getting something awesome, but then when you get it, you can't pose it. It's made weird. Just long story short, Hasbro's more reliable and more consistent, and I don't like the way McFarlane handles articulation. I would love for them to change that. I was 100% for McFarlane Toys when they were making the Halo figures in the beginning because they were packing in the articulation and the sculpt accessories. They were just wonderful. And now they just seem confused. Matt Lewis, how do you and your wife meet? Is she into collecting? Do you have a room Okay, I'm going to hit these one at a time. How do you and your wife meet? Match.com, not sponsored. If you're out there, Match.com, throw me some money. I'll be sponsored for it. It worked. I never would have guessed. I wasn't even on there, seriously. Like, I was on there just, I can't say that. That's mean. I was on there just to have fun. I wasn't, not like that either. No, I mean, I was on there, I was scrolling through profiles and laughing. That's what I meant. I sound evil now. Anyway, I wasn't even seriously using it, and I stumbled across the right person, and it worked. So, yeah, it works. Is she into collecting? No. Not like this. No. Not collectibles like action figures and that kind of stuff. She does have one collecting type hobby. I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about. I guess it doesn't matter. She collects sea glass. Ocean garbage is what I call it. She won't take offense to that. It sounds mean, it's not. A little. Do you have a room dedicated to it, to collecting? I do. My whole upstairs is one big room. So I have my work, like my sculpting area is over there, my review area is right there, this filming area is here. I have my video game, TV, and digital sculpting area right there. My collection storage is over there, and my display cabinets are over there. So I kind of have one room dedicated to everything. Almost nothing, well, right now nothing is on display, but generally I just have those 4 cabinets that have display stuff in them. Otherwise, the house looks like a normal person house because I think it's important for people to collect something and not to be a collector. Like, that's not your identity. It's something you do. You know what I mean? I think sometimes people take things a little bit too seriously, and I like to separate my hobbies from my actual identity. That sounds deeper than I meant it to, but that's what I'm going for. Anyway, let's continue. I'd love to see a tour once you get fully unpacked. Yeah, we'll see how that's going to go. There might be a wrench in the works for that. We'll see. Sorry for the loaded questions. Haha. Okay, no, good questions. Can't wait for Rebel Collectibles. Thanks for the support, Matt Lewis. I appreciate it. And good questions. It's fun to talk about stuff outside of collecting, and hopefully I didn't say anything that's going to get me in trouble. Malt ID. I have 2 questions, but if it's limited to one, just answer the first. Let me see what we're doing on time. We are at 20 minutes, just about. We can continue. We'll do both, if I can get them both done. Number 1, assuming you display your collection, how do you preserve it from dust, color fade, or joints loosening? Okay, color fade shouldn't happen unless you have direct sunlight on your figures. Otherwise, you're not going to prevent it from happening. Like, you're always going to have some level of UV, and unless you have, like, fancy UV corrected or protective glass, which isn't going to be a thing. You're not going to stop it completely, but if you have, like, I have my window over there with blackout curtains on it, and then my cabinets are over there, I'm not worried about UV fade. There's not going to be anything there. Dust, my cabinets are dust proof. They're Billy bookshelves with, I think they're called Morlandon glass doors. And I just put weather stripping around the whole way, and so they are dust proof. I have not gotten an ounce of dust in those cabinets other than when I've had them open for setting up or something like that. So you just get cabinets with glass doors and then make sure they're dust proof. If they're not, dust proof them yourself. It's easy. Joints loosening over time is not really a thing unless the plastics are shrinking or changing due to temperature, which if your house is climate controlled, you shouldn't have that problem. You may have an issue, like if you have a figure posed like this, you might end up with saggage or something like that, but it shouldn't actually loosen the joint. Obviously, plastics can change their shape over time, like long periods of time, but like PVC is a fairly soft plastic that's porous, so it could change from temperature and like humidity and stuff, but you really shouldn't have too much of an issue with joints getting loose just from existing. It's from being played with. The friction rubs on the plastic and you end up rubbing away material, as a very general example of that. So that's how you end up with loose joints. Otherwise, you shouldn't really get loose joints over time. I mean, I keep all my stuff in bins, and I've had stuff for, 12 years now since I started collecting. There's no change. They're all the same. Okay, number 2, how much stuff, toys, consoles, or maybe even packing do you have for show compared to what's in storage? Well, nothing's in storage right now, but it's all packed up or in piles and things. So I have nothing for show. If you're asking me like display, nothing is on display. It's all over the place. I don't have any consoles. I used to collect all the consoles I've ever owned. I got rid of all of them. I only have my PC. I think I might have my N64 and a Dreamcast in a box somewhere. Maybe an Atari, but not on purpose, just because they're not worth anything. But I used to have every Nintendo console and things like that, but I decided I'm never going to display it, so I don't need it. Good questions. All right, let's do a couple more before we run out of time here. Okay, Bankster Bubble. What's your all-time favorite figure? Singular figure. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I might go with... That's so tough because some of the things I have are somewhat emotionally charged just from how I got it, or like the difficulty in getting it, or someone gave it to me or something like that. Or I could go straight quality, like Storm Sagat Street Fighter 2 or Turbo version is awesome. It's right up there. Masterpiece Dinobot's up there. Some Halo figures are up there. That's a really tough singular figure. I've got like, I want to say like 9,000 figures. Like I've got, maybe not, I sold some. I've got a lot of figures. No, 9,000 sounds high. 6,000 maybe. I'd have to check. It can't be 6,000. It's got to be less than that. Whatever. I know it was like, anyway, I have a lot. So, hard for me to pick. I would go with, that's really tough to pick one. Okay, I don't know. I'm going to go with Masterpiece Dinobot maybe. Maybe. Oh man, that's harder than I thought. I'm actually experiencing some anxiety and stress from that question. Judah de Villa. What are the factors that lead someone to having an action figure collection around 6-inch scale? Well, I can tell you why I like that scale. You can pack in a lot of articulation and a lot of detail at a reasonable price. It's the trifecta of what you need for a collectible, for me. Yeah, the bigger you get, the more that stuff you can pack in, but you can't fit as many on your shelf or any on your shelf because they're too big or they're too expensive. I think, like, bang for your buck, it's more of a quadrifecta. Bang for your buck as in value, amount you can fit somewhere, so size, like practically, detail, and articulation. You get everything you want in the 1/12 scale or 6-inch scale. Good question. Good question. KJ, what do you think about independent products in Eastern entertainment becoming more and more popular due to the Western one becoming dull? Do you think this will be the case for the next years? Yes, I think it's not going to be the case. I think it's going to ramp up. I think it's going to continue to go in the direction it's going. I don't think dullness is the problem. I mean, I guess it is to some extent, but I think what I'm experiencing anyway, and I'm as neutral on the topic as I can be so I don't upset anybody, because I don't like doing that, as you might have guessed. I think the thing is Eastern stuff Basically, you're thinking like the manga thing. That's what you're talking about, I'm assuming, as an example. They are making the product that the product is supposed to be, and it's selling because that's what people want. Whereas the West, what we're seeing, as far as I can tell, is they're trying to make the product what they think people want. And it's not the people who have been supporting them the whole time, and it's not even new people. It's just they're trying to hit buzzwords and do things rather than just make the product. That's it. Just make the product that is what built you, and then it'll be successful. But they're going away from that, and these other people are going, like, leaning into making the product what made it what it was. And so we're seeing this giant overtaking, which nobody would have predicted, but I think we might have if we actually looked at it. So that's my take on it. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better because I don't see any indication of things changing in the West or the East. There you go. All right, let's hit maybe a couple more. Harrison Brusque, or Brusky, or I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry. Favorite Storm Collectibles figure? I'm gonna go with Sagat, the Street Fighter 2 Turbo version, the darker color with the white and red trunks. However, I really like the Akuma figure, despite its flaws. The Shin Akuma is a good one too. Those are very nice figures, very, very nice figures, but I'm gonna go with Sagat. It's like almost perfect. Really good figure. Johnny Yaw. What were you doing before YouTube took off? What would you do if YouTube doesn't work out? Also, all the best with your stuff. Well, YouTube is not my only thing. Like, I do have the customizing and the action figure line I'm making, so that would be my fallback. And if I had to fall back from that, I wouldn't go back to what I was doing before. What I was doing before was teaching, and I didn't like it. I mean, I liked the teaching aspect of it. I was damn good at it, and there's too many politics being played within the school, and then if you actually considered the political effect on the schools, it was very unpleasant, and so I just didn't like it. I didn't like what was going on in the school. I didn't like the way things were being run, like any schools. They're all the same, basically. So I just said, screw it. I already have this other thing I'm doing. I actually enjoy this more. I'm going to do that. So that's why I went into YouTube full-time. I was doing them both a little bit at the same time. But that's why I leaned into the YouTube and the customizing and the other thing. And I could go back to that, but I probably would never unless I absolutely needed to. Having a degree and I'm fairly capable of learning new things, I'd probably just go into something else if I needed to and I didn't want to teach. But I'm pretty sure I'll be able to make work for myself. And if not, I'm sure some company somewhere would hire me to do sculpting or something. I've got enough skill that I could do something, I think. I hope it never comes to that. We'll see. All right, this may be the last one for this video. Let's see. Yeah, this will be the last question. Let's hit it real quick. Pragola Jiwa. I probably pronounced that terribly. I'm sorry. What do you think about the trend of the toy industry in the next 5 to 10 years, especially Marvel and DC? The trend is that we're going to keep getting more and more from different companies, new companies. It's almost like there's an inundation of variety, which is good. Competition drives quality, typically. I think we're going to see more and more of that. As you can see right now, like every import company is making Marvel and DC. All the domestic companies are making some level of Marvel and DC. We're just going to see more. It's not going to be that each companies are going to keep going up like this. I think we're going to see more and more companies, and they're all going to keep making their same level of product. So as far as quantity. So we're going to see a lot more variety from different companies, and I think each one of the companies is just going to keep iterating on what they're already doing. Okay, good questions, guys. I am going to go ahead and do a second part for this. So if you want to see more questions, tune into that when that comes around. But otherwise, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.